Hey folks, today something a bit different. Today we cook. And if you're wondering what's on the menu today, well... No, Alf. No fresh cats needed today. Sorry, man. Today we're cooking Borsch according to Hank. And if you're Russian or Ukrainian or Polish for that matter, please don't get offended, because this borscht might not quite be what you would expect from a borscht. And so, yeah, keep in mind, this is borscht according to Hank. That's me. So, what we'll need for this borscht, according to Hank: half a kilo of beetroots, 2 onions, half a head of a small cabbage, 2 medium-sized carrots, some celery, parsnip, fresh parsley leaves, 2 medium-sized potatoes, and a slice of meat. Now, with meat, in this case, it is sliced pork neck, but you can use pretty much any meat that is available to you. I once cooked borscht with turkey bones. Like after they process the turkey for meat, what remains is the bones and remains of meat and so on. So it doesn't really matter. Use whatever you have at hand. In this case, we'll be using sliced pork neck. Then we'll need some common spices: pepper, salt, 3 cubes of instant chicken broth, or you can use real broth or different flavor of the instant broth, some dill, bay leaf, about 5 of them, and garlic, either in the form of the powder as in here, or you can just use normal garlic that grows on your garden. Also, if you have some tomatoes laying around, you might throw them in as well. Now let's clean and peel the veggies and we'll get going. We'll also need a larger pot, in this case a 3.7 liter stainless pot, ideally with a cover. And we'll also need some oil or butter. Well, this tomato is slightly on its way out, but that doesn't really matter. Let's just cut out the bad portions and yeah. And with beetroots, well, you can use the skin peeler when they are still hard, but when they start to get soft, as in this case, which by the way means they are on their way out as well, it's actually better to just use the knife. Now we'll proceed with the veggies. We'll slice them and dice them into smaller pieces. Okay, let's start with the onions, because these are going to be the first vegetable we're going to use. Then we'll prepare the root vegetables. Well, basically these are all root vegetables, but the carrot, parsnip and celery, because all of those are going to be roasted in the pot along with the onions to make the base of the soup. Let's melt some butter in the pot. Okay. Let the butter melt. Once melted, add onions and let simmer until it turns glossy. And at this point you might want to lower the temperature back to medium, or in this case it's 4 out of 6. So now let's add some more butter and the celery, parsnip, carrot mixture to the onions. And we want to roast it and stir fry it so that it becomes slightly tender. Slightly more tender. about halfway through the process of tenderizing the mixture of carrots, onions, parsnip and celery, add the beetroots. Also, if you have the tomatoes at hand, you can throw them in at this point. After the vegetables soften, we'll add water and the instant broth, spices, and the remaining two ingredients, which are the meat and the cabbage. With the cabbage, take the first layer of leaves off, and we'll need to take out the hard piece in the center, the stem. Cut the cabbage into stripes. With meat, there are actually three approaches. You can either throw the pieces of raw meat into the boiling soup once we add the water and the instant broth, or you can cut it into pieces and fry it on a pan side by side with the soup, then add it into the soup, the fried meat. Or you can stir fry the meat cut into pieces along with the root vegetables and the beetroots, which is actually what I'm going to do, because I don't want to use another piece of kitchen utensils and kitchenware, and I like to cook with as little things used as possible. So let's just take these pork cubes, let's sprinkle them with salt and pepper and stir fry them with carrots. Yeah. And with the beetroots and other veggies. So yes, here is the mixture, and let's add in the meat. And since it's kind of dry at this moment, let's add some oil. Just a bit of oil, about a tablespoon or so. Once the meat turns a whiter shade of pale, or in this case a browner or grayer shade of pale, you can add in about 1 liter of water, the instant broth cubes, cabbage, potatoes, and the spices. So there goes the water, there goes the potatoes. Let's get the cabbage. There goes the cabbage. And if you see that the cabbage is sticking out of the liquid, as it does in this case, you know, you can add some more water, in this case about quarter a liter or about a cup for American friends. Actually, it would be a wise idea to put in the broth cubes before the cabbage, but hey, if you're retarded like me, a man has to do what he has to do. There go the cubes. Then there goes pepper, and that's really up to your taste. I like pepper. Salt, again, much to your taste. This mill is broken, so I always forget to buy a new one. Again, with the salt, up to your taste. Now, if you were using a cloves of garlic, you'd need to put it in there. We ran out of powdered garlic. Now, if you were using real garlic, you'd need to put the garlic in along with the carrots. You just dice the cloves and put them into the mixture of carrot and parsnip and celery and stir fry it on the butter. Then we'll add the dill, and if you're using fresh dill, then be careful because the stuff is quite strong. But if you're using dried dill from the store, then don't be too shy. Now the bay leaf, same story. If you're using your own bay leaf or something that is really strong, then no need to go overboard with it. But I'm using a cheap store-bought bay leaf, so I'll use more of it. In this case 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and let's be generous, 6 leaves of bay leaf. There is one more thing I want to add into the soup, and that's, if you remember, our friend parsley. So let's add it in, and at this point we're pretty much done, and all we have to do is wait for the cabbage to get soft, and it really depends on how you like your cabbage. I like it to be pretty much as soft as possible, so it's like noodles. But some people prefer the cabbage to be slightly crunchy, but me personally, I don't like it. So at this point we're pretty much done with the soup, and we will continue to stew it for about 30 or 40 minutes, or basically until the potatoes and the cabbage are soft enough. So yeah, pretty much done. The only thing you might need to do is to check the balance between sour, tart and sweet, because Borsch is all about a confrontation between 3 tastes, and that's the sour, tart and sweet, where sour is the tomato, which is optional, but traditionally Russians put tomatoes into their borscht. So the tomato is the sour, and traditionally you are supposed to serve the borscht with sour cream, so again, sour taste. But to be honest, I like it more without a sour cream. So the three tastes sour, so tomatoes and sour cream makes for the sour taste. The beetroots are the tart, the rooty, semi-sweet, semi-sour, earthy taste or aroma, and the carrots are the sweet portion, the sweet side of things. And it's really hard to know where the balance is if you are making the borscht for the first time, but eventually you'll acquire your own taste and you'll be able to achieve that fine balance. And the way you achieve the balance is by using vinegar and sugar. So once the stew is almost done, like the final step before you serve it is you taste it. Well, of course you can taste it even sooner, but you taste it, and if it's too sour you add sugar. If it's too sweet or not sour enough, you add vinegar. So I already tasted, and since I'm using only a single tomato, guess what? It's not sour enough, so I'll go get my vinegar. Okay, so we have a pretty large pot. Well, not in Russian terms, but not if you're cooking for Red Army, but 3.7 liters is probably one of the biggest pots I have. So let's add a tablespoon of vinegar. It really is a handful at this point because there's so much stuff in the pot. Almost half a tablespoon. Well, if you end up pouring a whole, okay, and slight sweet accent of sugar. Again, a teaspoon. No need to go overboard. Yeah, that's the kind of taste I'm after. We're done. So now let's just wait until the veggies turn soft completely, and we are ready to serve.